Hello, welcome back to the studio. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I create a very quick watercolor landscape sketch when I have very limited time, 15 minutes or less. I'll be using some footage from my trip to Australia earlier this year. Specifically, I'll be using some footage that I took on a field trip to Moreton Island with the Guild of Natural Science Illustrators. Before I get started with today's video, I did want to touch on one little bit of studio news though. If you've been following this channel for a while, you'll know that I was getting increasingly frustrated with my computer, my editing setup. I was using a 9-year-old computer and it didn't have any graphics cards, so it was making it very difficult to edit and post videos. And finally I decided to just stop editing video until I had upgraded my computer. And as you can see, I've got a beautiful new display here. There's a brand new computer under the desk. And we finally installed this yesterday. I do want to point out one other very nice thing, one little feature of this setup, which you can maybe notice looking at it. Here you'll notice that something is missing. I don't have any cables or wires hanging down from any of my computer bits. That's because we broke open a wall into the eaves space behind the studio and ran all the cables in through that cavity, so I don't have any messy dangly cables. Of course, that did take a little bit of extra time. So we finally finished installing this yesterday and I couldn't be more excited. Anyway, with that bit of business done, I'm going to finish editing that video, which you can now watch now. If you're new here, my name is Lee Angold. I'm a botanical and natural science illustrator, and on this channel I share watercolor techniques and tips and some insights into my daily life as an illustrator. If this is content that you're interested in, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Our trip to Moreton Island was on quite a stormy, overcast day, which affected our day's schedule a little, but made for some really unique colors and patterns in the sky and the sea, which I really wanted to capture in my sketches. Once we reached Moreton Island, we cruised along the shores for a short while and then stopped at one of the beaches for a 20-minute break. After a short walk and some selfies, I sat down to start painting while my husband took some pictures of the scenery. Unfortunately, the camera corrected to make the sky and ocean bluer than they actually were, but I was struck with the deep green of the water and the stormy gray skies. Because we had very limited time, I started painting while my husband and cameraman was still recording the scenery around us, but I'll show you the rest of the footage from the second half of my painting session, all in real time. I used seawater for my paint water, and as it was a windy day, sand was blowing all into my palette. It's actually still there, but it added some very interesting texture to this painting. In this piece, it was more important to me to capture the atmospheric textures of the sky and the very interesting tealy gray colors of the sea and sky than it was to get any details in. So you'll notice here that I've dropped in some seawater into my sky wash to create some interesting cloud textures.
Mm-hmm. It is 10:30, so we should head to the boat now.
One of the last things I painted in was the seawater itself. Using a strong teal green color, I painted in lines, making sure to leave gaps in between to show the sparkle of the breaking water. The lines of my breaking waves get further apart and thicker as they come closer to me, as well as darker. I've made sure to also add some shadow colors and variation throughout the water. This was about as much as I could do in the roughly 10 or 11 minutes that I had to finish this painting from start to finish. I did go in afterwards and touch up a few little areas, add a few little bits of shadow, and also draw some specimen sketches that I'd collected on the same beach earlier.
Alright, we are now the last stragglers.
I got a basic sketch painted just in time to rush back to the boat so that we could move on to our next stop. Here you can see some of the colors of the water and the sky as we pulled away from Bulwer Beach and continued on our way. And here's what my sketchbook page looks like, all finished. The tiniest details of the landscape, as well as the specimen shell paintings and the notes I added later. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I paint a landscape sketch very quickly in real time. So don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell if you'd like to see more content like this. See you next week. Bye-bye.